The most competent person in the room is usually the one who feels like the biggest fraud. That feeling of being an imposter, of waiting for someone to find you out, is a direct side effect of your own expertise. By the end of this video, you'll understand the precise psychological mechanism that creates this paradox, and you'll see why misinterpreting this feeling is the single biggest thing holding you back from opportunities you have already earned. In 1978, two psychologists, Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes, noticed a pattern among high-achieving women. These were doctors, lawyers, and academics at the top of their fields. Externally, they were the definition of success. Internally, they were terrified. They shared a persistent belief that they were complete phonies. Their accomplishments, they argued, were due to luck or timing or just fooling people who should have known better. They lived with a constant, quiet dread of being exposed. Clance and Imes gave this feeling a name: the imposter phenomenon. For decades, this has been the accepted story, a story of personal anxiety that needs to be fixed. But their original research contained a clue to a much deeper process, a process that has less to do with anxiety and more to do with the mathematics of awareness. The Dunning-Kruger effect is often misunderstood. We mostly talk about the first half of its finding. People with low ability in a domain tend to dramatically overestimate their own competence. Their ignorance is so profound, they lack the tools to even recognize how little they know. But the other side of that curve is where the imposter feeling is born. The study also found that people with high ability consistently and significantly underestimate their competence relative to others. They know a subject so well that they can see its vast, sprawling complexity. They are painfully aware of every gap in their knowledge, every nuance they haven't yet mastered. Their internal map of the territory is huge, so their own position in it feels small. They also fall victim to what psychologists call a false consensus effect. They assume that tasks they now find easy must be easy for everyone else too. When someone praises their work, their first thought is often, "It wasn't that hard." They project their own ability onto the general population. Then they judge themselves against that impossibly high imaginary standard. The feeling of being a fraud is a cognitive illusion born from a well-calibrated sense of humility. It's the background hum of expertise. But why does an intellectual blind spot feel like a deep, personal character flaw? The reason is that your brain trusts your feelings more than it trusts the cold, hard facts. Your brain runs on a simple, ancient principle. Internal experience is more real than external data. Imagine you spend a month working on a critical presentation. That month is chaos. You rewrite the introduction 7 times. You discover a fatal flaw in your data 2 days before the deadline. You survive on bad coffee and sheer adrenaline. You finally deliver it, completely exhausted. Your boss says, "This is brilliant. You made that look effortless." Inside your head, a siren goes off. Effortless? You know it was the opposite of effortless. The enormous gap between their perception and your reality feels like a lie. A lie you are now responsible for maintaining. This is the engine of the imposter cycle. Every success becomes further evidence of your ability to fool people. So you work even harder on the next project to prevent being found out. This leads to another success, which only deepens the feeling that you're a fraud who is in way too deep. The cycle is powered by achievement. Each win tightens the screw. Consider your own reaction to praise. Do you feel a sense of ownership over the accomplishment? Or do you mostly feel relief, as if you just got away with something? That feeling of relief is the tell. It signals that you believe your success was a narrow escape from your true nature, which is failure. This cycle can run for a lifetime, spinning faster with every promotion. And it's almost always built on a single, flawed definition buried deep in your mind. The flawed definition is what you secretly believe competence looks like. For many people caught in this cycle, a real expert knows everything about their subject. A real professional never struggles, never feels doubt, and never, ever has to ask for help. They perform effortlessly without any internal friction. This is a child's idea of what an expert is. It's a complete myth. Every single expert you admire is constantly learning, constantly correcting course, and constantly aware of what they still need to figure out. They struggle. They feel doubt. They hit dead ends. The difference is they have learned to interpret that struggle as part of the process of doing meaningful work. You interpret it as proof of your fundamental inadequacy. This flawed definition comes in several common flavors. There's the perfectionist, who believes any single flaw in their work invalidates the entire effort. One typo in a 100-page report is, to them, definitive proof of their carelessness. There's the expert, who feels fraudulent if they don't know the answer to every single question asked of them. They live in fear of being exposed by one gap in their knowledge. Then there's the soloist, who thinks asking for help is an admission of failure. Real competence in their mind means figuring everything out entirely alone. Each of these is a different rule in the same rigged game, a game designed to make you lose. This gets worse anytime you step into a new role. Anytime you grow, you are by definition a beginner again. The feeling of being out of your depth is accurate. You are out of your depth. That's what learning feels like. The imposter feeling in those moments is a feature, a signal from your brain to pay attention, be humble, and learn quickly. The problem begins when that feeling doesn't fade as you gain mastery. The alarm bell gets stuck in the on position. You could have 10 years of experience and still feel like the intern who just walked in the door. This happens when the entire alarm system gets hijacked by your own memory, which is a notoriously biased historian. Your memory gives preferential treatment to emotionally charged events. And for most people, failures and mistakes are far more emotionally intense than successes. Think about a time you made a significant mistake at work. You can probably feel it in your body right now, the heat rising in your face, the knot in your stomach, the frantic, desperate search for a solution. The memory is visceral. It lives inside you. Now, think about a success from that same year. You probably remember it as a fact. I got the promotion, I finished the report, the client was happy. It's an abstract data point stored away in a mental filing cabinet. It lacks the same emotional weight and detail. This isn't just a quirk of psychology, it's a survival mechanism. Your brain is hardwired to remember threats with high-fidelity detail. A public failure, social embarrassment, the risk of being ostracized, these are ancient threats. Your brain logs them with emotional tags that scream, danger, avoid this. Success is coded as goal achieved, resource acquired. It's a less urgent signal. The threat of failure feels like a predator. The reward of success feels like a meal. One keeps you alive, the other just keeps you fed. Your brain prioritizes survival. So when it assesses your true level of competence, it's comparing a handful of vivid Technicolor memories of your failures against a long grayscale list of your accomplishments. The emotional evidence screams fraud. The factual evidence just quietly whispers. This creates a powerful cognitive bias. You start to see your successes as flukes, lucky breaks, or exceptions to the rule. You build a narrative where your struggles define your identity, and your achievements are just temporary disguises. You start actively looking for evidence that confirms your fraudulence while explaining away any evidence to the contrary. A compliment is just someone being polite. A promotion was a mistake they'll soon regret. A success was just a lucky roll of the dice. Your identity becomes the person who struggles, and you live in fear that this identity will be exposed. This mental prison is sealed from the inside, but its walls are sustained by more than just your own mind. They are often reinforced by the world around you. This internal mechanism is a tinderbox. A toxic environment provides the spark. Workplaces that reward chronic overwork, punish mistakes harshly, and lack psychological safety are perfect breeding grounds for the imposter cycle. When your environment constantly implies that you are replaceable or that only flawless performance is acceptable, it validates the voice of your inner critic. It takes your personal feeling of inadequacy and reflects it back at you as organizational truth. Managers who offer vague feedback or who only point out flaws starve you of the external data you need to build an accurate self-assessment. Without clear benchmarks for success, you are left to rely on your own flawed, emotionally biased internal scorecard. You begin to believe the problem is entirely you. You conclude that you just need to work harder, be smarter, become more perfect. You are trying to solve a systemic problem with individual effort. It is like trying to fix a crooked picture frame while standing in a house that was built on a slant. The architecture of the system itself is what's distorting your perspective, and recognizing that frame is the first step to seeing yourself clearly. The system reinforces the feeling, your memory biases it, your psychology creates it. But the final piece of the puzzle is recognizing that everyone else is standing in that same crooked house right alongside you. The feeling of being an imposter is a compass pointing north toward the edge of your competence. It is a sign that you're growing. It's the friction of your comfort zone expanding. People who never feel it are either the 1 in a billion masters of their craft, or they are stagnating, comfortably doing the same thing they've known how to do for years. The feeling is the price of ambition, a signal, an indicator. It is simply information. The moment you relabel the feeling from proof of my inadequacy to indicator of my growth, its power over you dissolves. It becomes a tool. And this is where the great social illusion comes in. You walk into a meeting feeling like you're the only one faking it. You look at your colleagues who all seem so confident and composed. You see their finished products, their articulate arguments, their polished presentations. You assume they are the real experts you're pretending to be. But here is the reality. They are looking back at you, seeing your competence, and thinking the exact same thing. They are just as convinced of their own fraudulence. This is a psychological phenomenon called pluralistic ignorance. It's a situation where a majority of a group privately rejects a norm, but incorrectly assumes that most others accept it. Everyone feels like a fraud, but believes they are the only one, because the collective social rule is to project confidence and hide the messy human struggle. You are a single, anxious person in a room full of other single, anxious people who are all trying very hard to look like they have it figured out. The feeling thrives in isolation. It withers under shared vulnerability. Acknowledging the struggle is the antidote. Seeing the feeling as a universal side effect of pushing yourself breaks the cycle. The question becomes what you do when the compass needle swings. When that familiar feeling of inadequacy surfaces as you face a new challenge, do you retreat to the safe territory you've already mapped? Or do you take a deep breath and accept it as the cost of admission to a bigger, more interesting